The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and the Asherahs. Judges 3:7. Asherah, Hebrew, Asherah. The plural form is ASHEROT. Its root word, Shoresh, is ASHAR, Alef-Shin-Resh. Asherah, Ashtoreth, Ishtar, was a goddess worshipped by the Canaanites, the ancestors of the Israelites, to whom the Israelites sometimes were tempted to turn. The goddess Asherah was a fertility goddess. She was the female consort of the god Baal. She was the goddess of women, as stated in the Ras Shamra tablets. In Deuteronomy 12:3, it is commanded that the sacred poles representing her be forcibly destroyed. In the northern kingdom, Queen Jezebel encouraged worship of her, 1 Kings 18:19, as did Manasseh in the south, 2 Kings 21:7. In popular religion, which was rejected by the prophets, Micah 5:12-13, Asherah was sometimes considered to be the consort, or wife, of Yahweh. However, in the official religion of the patriarchs of Israel, Yahweh was not understood as a sexual being. Therefore, the understanding that the goddess Asherah was Yahweh's consort or wife is a highly deviant belief. The erection of Asherah poles for worship was an abomination, as Judges 3:7 describes this as evil. The worship of the goddess Asherah was apostasy, an act of abandoning the commands of Yahweh Elohim, the God of Israel, the creator of heaven and earth. Asherah as a fertility goddess refers to a kind of sexual symbol for the Canaanites. Worship of the goddess Asherah was closely linked to practices of sexual abuse. Asherah was often made as a statue carved from wood or stone. In 2 Kings 21:7, it explains how Manasseh, king of Judah, fell into idolatry by worshipping the goddess Asherah. The worship of Asherah by the Canaanites actually originated from traditions in Mesopotamia. If we read Genesis 10:9-10, we will learn that Nimrod was a mighty man in his time. He built civilizations in several places, one of which was Baal, or the land of Mesopotamia. The story of Nimrod is a tragic one, where he married his own mother, named Semiramis. Let's go back to Genesis 3:15. In this verse, it is explained that God prophesied that he would give a divine descendant Messiah from the seed of a woman who would crush Satan, and that God would restore his kingdom. This prophetic message was passed down from the time of Adam, Seth, Enosh, and so on, until Nimrod. To attain the status of the Messiah as mentioned in Genesis 3:15, Nimrod married Semiramis and proclaimed that Semiramis was the descendant referred to in Genesis 3:15. Nimrod called Semiramis both his wife and his mother. In this way, Nimrod also referred to himself as a god, who had incarnated as a son of man and the savior of the world. This was the beginning of idolatry in the world. Nimrod required his people to worship him as the sun god, and he referred to himself as Baal, which in English means my God, and in Hebrew, Elohim. Semiramis was called Balti. As the sun god, Nimrod presented himself as both God and king, and he established a religious system centered on worship of himself. Seeing this, Semiramis had her own ambitions. She was not satisfied with being just the mother of God, but wanted more. So, Semiramis killed Nimrod. After killing Nimrod, Semiramis proclaimed herself the Queen of Heaven and Mother of God. She ruled in Babylon for 41 years. Semiramis established a religious system full of mysticism and mystery. The tradition of the Queen of Heaven continued even after Semiramis's death. This occult practice has persisted to this day. As evidence, let us examine the following examples. In Babylon, Semiramis, Nimrod. In Canaan, Ashtoreth, Baal. In Egypt, Isis, Osiris. In Greece, Aphrodite, Apollo. In India, Devaki, Krishna. In Rome, Fortuna, Jupiter. In Ephesus, Diana. In China, Xingmu. Several years after killing Nimrod, Semiramis became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Tammuz. The biological father of Tammuz was unknown, so Semiramis claimed that Tammuz was the reincarnation of Nimrod. The worship of Semiramis as the Queen of Heaven was opposed by God. See Jeremiah 7:16-20, Jeremiah 44:18. It was from Nimrod and Semiramis that occult practices and idolatry spread. This occurred because the cities built by Nimrod, such as Babel, Erech, and Akkad, were advanced cities of their time. This tradition continued to spread to the land of Canaan, known by the name of the goddess Asherah. She gave birth to a godson, who was then worshipped by the Canaanites as Baal. This mother and child figure worship repeated the pattern of the worship of Nimrod and Semiramis. When the Assyrians conquered the land of Canaan, they also had their own fertility goddess named Ishtar.